If you've ever played a tabletop role-playing game, you know the feeling. Today, we're going to dig into a game engine that was built from the ground up to solve one of the oldest, most frustrating problems in the hobby, the dreaded combat slog. Let's see how it completely reinvents the idea of a character class.
Oh yeah, we've all been there, right? You're in this epic showdown with the dragon, the tension is high, and then it all grinds to a halt. Suddenly, everyone's hunched over their character sheets, adding up a bunch of tiny modifiers, checking ranges, and just waiting. And just like that, all that epic story momentum, it just slams into a brick wall. So there's actually a name for this, and it's the core problem this whole system is trying to solve: cognitive fatigue. It's that mental burnout that happens when the rules are so complex and stop and go that they just get in the way of the story. It drains the energy from everyone at the table, turning you from an active hero into just a passive spectator waiting for your turn. Okay, so here's the game plan. We're going to start with that TTRPG traffic jam. Then we'll pop the hood on this new engine called MDM. We'll look at its universal character blueprint, see how structure can actually create more freedom, and check out how it adds real psychological depth to your story. And then we get to the best part, the payoff. More speed and a ton more creativity. All right, so what's the fix? Well, it's a new engine called Multiverse Dice Master, or MDM for short. Now, this isn't just another rulebook. It's really presented as an engineering tool, and its whole goal is to get rid of that slow, clunky simulation that causes all that fatigue and replace it with something it calls high-speed story physics. And here's where you can really see the difference. Traditional games are linear. You wait your turn, you roll to see if you hit, then you roll for damage. The Dungeon Master ends up being this bottleneck for information. MDM, on the other hand, uses what it calls parallel processing. In one single roll, the system figures out who goes first, if you hit, and how much damage you dealt, all at once. The system just gives you the result, which frees you up to do the fun part, narrating the awesome outcome. So you might be thinking, okay, a new engine is cool, but what does that do to my character? How can a barbarian and a wizard feel different? Well, the answer is pretty surprising. It's a universal blueprint. Every single character, no matter the class, is built on the exact same high-performance foundation. And this right here, this is the absolute key. All 21 classes in the system. You've got your barbarian, bard, cleric, druid, engineer, fighter, monk, paladin, scion, ranger, rogue, sorcerer, warlock, warlord, and wizard, plus 6 new prestige classes. Every single one follows the exact same level progression. This creates a unified geometric growth curve. And why does that matter? Well, it guarantees that the power level between players is perfectly balanced, which makes it super easy for players, DMs, and even AI to understand. So think of it like this. At level 1, everybody gets the same toolkit to build their hero. You pick your genetics and background, you choose a personality prompt called an Enneagram, you grab some proficiencies and a feat, select a battle maneuver, and then boom, you get your first big signature class feature. It's kind of like building a custom car, where everyone starts with the same incredible engine and chassis. And this table, it lays it all out, crystal clear. Just look at level 4. Every single class, no exceptions, gets an ability score improvement or a feat. Or check out level 5. Everyone gets that crucial +3 proficiency bonus. This shared structure is what guarantees that everything stays balanced, all the way from level 1 to 20. And this is where things get really interesting and kind of counterintuitive, actually. It's this idea that a rigid structure can create more freedom. Where some games give you endless options that lead to that cognitive fatigue, MDM argues that smart restrictions are what really lets excellence and creativity shine. So if the main class progression is the same for everyone, how do you make your character feel unique? It's all in the subclasses. Because the core is locked in, all your creativity gets focused here, and they are completely modular. This is where your fighter becomes a samurai, or your rogue becomes a master investigator. You can even import a subclass you love from any 5e compatible book, as long as your DM approves. It makes the system unbelievably flexible. And get this, instead of that sometimes clunky, messy multiclassing we're used to, MDM has this concept it calls legacy play. The idea is you're not just playing one character. You're building a whole portfolio of heroes, all operating out of a shared home base. So if one of your heroes dies, the story doesn't just stop. Your legacy continues, which opens the door for some amazing generational storytelling. It all comes back to this core idea. By setting these clear, predictable boundaries for how a character grows, the system just frees up your mental energy.
You're not bogged down trying to remember a dozen different weird mechanics. You're free to focus on what actually matters: the story, the role-playing, and what your character's doing right now. Okay, so we've covered the mechanics, but what about the story, the actual role-playing? Let's check out the last big piece of this character system. It's a simple, but really profound tool that adds some serious psychological depth to your hero, without making you feel like you have to be a professional actor.
The tool for this is something called the Enneagram, and it is so important to get this right. These are not game mechanics. They don't restrict you. Just think of them as role-playing prompts, a kind of shared language so everyone at the table can quickly get a handle on a character's deepest fears, their desires, and what really motivates them.
Let me give you an example. An Enneagram gives you this really clear picture of your character's inner conflict, the darkness they're running from and the light they're chasing. So a peacemaker type fears loss and just wants inner peace. Their trigger in a fight isn't anger or aggression. It's this desperate, almost primal need to restore balance to the world. All of a sudden, combat isn't just about rolling dice, it's a direct reflection of your character's psychology. So what this does, and it's pretty brilliant, is it front-loads all that tricky character development work. It gives every single player, no matter how much experience they have, a simple toolkit to play a really complex, interesting character. It also creates a clean separation between us, the players, agreeing to be cool to each other, and how our characters might realistically, and sometimes badly, act under pressure. All right, let's bring it all home. We've got this universal chassis, modular subclasses, a simple role-playing tool. So what? What's the actual payoff when you sit down to play? What does it feel like? Well, remember where we started? The dreaded hour-long combat encounter, the story killer, the energy vampire that just sucks all the fun out of the session.
And then, here's the MDM result. By letting the system handle all that math in a single roll, it collapses that hour of pain into just 15 minutes of fast, exciting, cinematic action. We're talking a 75% reduction in time. That means more story, more exploring, and more role-playing in every single session.
At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. The entire system is engineered to just get out of the way. The structure handles the heavy mental lifting, so you don't have to. And that frees you, the player, to step into a new role, the narrative architect, the one who gets to describe your hero's amazing successes and their hilarious failures. And that's really the question to leave you with. This whole approach, with its shared foundation and its modular design, it isn't just about playing a game faster. It's about unlocking our creative potential. It asks you to think. What kind of incredible stories could you and your friends tell if the rules were finally designed to help you, not hold you back?